Jay here for Stretford Paddock. That's Joe Smith. Newcastle United 2, Manchester United 1. The Reds losing for the first time under Michael Carrick at St James's and also against 10 men for half the game. Really, really frustrating night. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Joe, we'll start from the beginning because obviously, it's been really deflating and there's a missed opportunity, which we'll get into, especially with the other results that have happened. But when you saw the team and you saw how United had set up, did you think, yeah, it makes sense, happy, no real surprises there?
Yeah, completely. I mean, we saw, didn't we, from the game and how it unfolded, other than Ahmad, who didn't do anything when he came on anyway, but the substitutes just aren't good enough, are they? We know that. There was only so many tweaks that the manager could have possibly made without it just obviously negatively affecting the game. I think the team, should I say, I think Ahmad not playing made some sense. Sesko should probably start after the goal scoring run that he's been on, and Burmo's our top scorer. Cunha's got 4 goals more than Ahmad has this season, so it all makes sense why he would be the one to lose out. But yeah, you look at that team sheet and you think, this is it. This is the best midfield we've got, the best defence that's fit, the best attack probably that we've got at the moment as well. Yeah, at that point, it all made sense, as you said.
Yeah, it did, and then the game gets underway, and it's kind of like one of those typical games against Newcastle. You said it before the game, you said it, expect them to sort of be on the front foot, get out, the crowd to be up for it. It's their cup final, they've not had a good record. Recently at St James's, they've got a good record against us. So we knew they'd come at us, and they did. And they do that thing where they're trying to buy every foul and in the referee's ear and all the rest of it. And it felt like we kind of bought into it a little bit. It's like, I don't know, we just didn't really sort of have a game plan for that. And their game plan seemed to really sort of, for a little while anyway, sort of work in their favour, didn't it?
The game plan they use is the same one that Tottenham used against us in the Carabao Cup final, which is be physical, but when you get touched, go down.
Yeah.
Just go down, go down, go down, go down. Gordon must have been fouled 5 or 6 times. Most of them weren't fouls. Lewis Hall in the first half got fouled, I think, 3 times by Burmo. 2 of them weren't fouls. Every single time, Trippier, another one, every time anyone goes near him, go down and you'll get a free kick. And the ref gave it. And there's just some games that happen, and like I said, the Europa League final was one last season, where just watching the game, and everyone who watched that game will know what I mean, it just felt horrible to watch, didn't it?
Yeah,
From the start of the game, this game feels horrible. And you can't really put your finger on why, but it's disjointed, there's weird gaps on the pitch, the ref's involved in ways that you don't really want, like he's not having a terrible game, but he's just too involved.
Yeah.
And you just watch, and I think sometimes, especially in big games or games where it's going to be high tension, high intensity, like it was tonight, referees can completely shape a game. And you ended up watching one where you're going, I know what this is going to be like now. Whether United win or lose, it's going to be a horrible close game where we're all going to be throwing our hands in the air every 3 seconds because it's just, I touch you, you go down, foul.
Yeah.
And it completely ruins the flow of the game. You don't get pressure mounting, you don't get consistency, you don't allow the better team to progress and to do better, because every 2 seconds the game is being stopped. And they play, and much like Tottenham did in the Europa League final, you have to give Newcastle some credit because they played to that better than we did.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what to do with that. There was a couple of times where we went down easy and got free kicks, but they built their whole game plan around it.
Yeah.
Get in front of your man, when he touches your back, go down. And when we do go down, we're going to take as long as we can on the ball, we're going to take as much time as we possibly can. And separate to that, for some reason, for the 4th time in a row, because that's how many times we've lost to Newcastle at St James's now, we have players that are jogging when the opposition players are sprinting. I know that Luke Shaw went off because he's booking and he looked like he might get sent off, but part of the reason he looked like he might get sent off is because he plays at half the pace of the opposition.
Yeah.
Elanga gets the ball. Elanga, who's been terrible at Newcastle, but the one thing he can do is sprint. Yeah. And that's what he did tonight. He plays the ball off and he goes in behind. And much like the last time and the time before and the time before that and the time in the middle at Old Trafford where they beat us 2-0 as well, they make runs off the ball in behind, and our defence, our midfield don't track them. So they had space in and around our box. They're whipping crosses in, and the whole, the crowd builds up, and then all of a sudden, just when you think we're going to win the ball back, we've fouled someone, and it's back on us again. The whole game just felt disgusting, and part of that was the ref, but most of it, and was Newcastle doing the right thing, us not expecting it again, and not playing at the same pace as we should be when the opposition is clearly, they were always going to be massively up for this.
Yeah.
We said it in the preview. I said 2-2 before the game, but...
No, you did. You said you were worried about a loss, but you didn't want to call a loss, to be fair to you.
But it went just how we thought it would. They're going to start well, they're going to end well, and the gap in the middle is where we have to capitalise, and we didn't. And even when we got the ultimate opportunity, a red card for a dive, which it was... United then give a penalty away within 2 minutes. Yeah. Like, even the times when it could be building our way, we don't learn and we give a penalty away. Yeah. It's just, it's ridiculous.
No, it is. I'm going to get into some of the comments in the chat and then I'm going to come back to you. Guts Doyle says, has Cunha crossed the ball for United yet? No width. Sam says, based on how performances have been getting worse, I think new manager bounce is running out. Hopefully I'm wrong. Jay, get your belly out again. I'm on a horse says, after my halftime bravado, I'll just add, I've commented on Stuart Broad's podcast saying I'll eat a handful of my own shit live if England beat India tomorrow. It was poor, lads, but don't freak out. We can't win them all. Benjamin Wheeler says Mbumo and Cunha getting complacent. Go Palajayan Subrahami says the midfield is seriously lacking physicality and ball progression. We've been second best 3 times to 10 men. Everton, Palace and Newcastle. There's a few other chats as well which I'll get into before I come back to you, Joe. Ross Murphy says Ten Hag is not the guy. Ruben Amorim is not the guy. Michael Carrick is not the guy. Honestly, when will it end? I don't know. I think he might be commenting on some of the comments that we're seeing. There was one from Santa Notch which said the latest chapter of current United manager is not the guy has started.
Is that happening a lot? Is that a big talking point in the chat? That Carrick's not good enough.
I mean, there are people. Yeah, there are. Sorry, Marshall West says, "Have faith, lads. They're game raising bastards," which you sort of said. There's a few people saying. I say that, and I'm trying to find one. Carrick had no balls today, says Daniel Walcott, which isn't the same as saying Carrick's not the guy. I did see a few people saying that he's not the guy for long term. Stephen says, Jay and Joe, do you think motivation and morale is an issue? And if it is, do you think Carrick should consider bringing in Steve Bracknell for motivation, years on the touchline, and would add humour? Ten Hag, I've read that one. I'm just trying to see if there's... Let me know what you think about sort of the manager's tactics today and Carrick and all the rest of it. I mean, there are some people sort of, certainly when the chat started, who were quite critical. There we go. B-Man Stream says Julian Nagelsmann. Marshall West says Enrique. A.L. Bateki says it's clear to see Carrick is not the guy, period. This is Ollie 2.0, says B. Serg. This is why Carrick can never get the full-time job, says Truth Seeker 3503.
When people say this is why you can't do it. This is why. What is this? What do people mean by this? That we've lost 1 game out of 7, or 1 game out of 8. Sorry.
I mean, we're still.
What is this? I don't understand it.
We're still like over those games. We've still got more points during those games than any other team in the Premier League. We've still had some good results. I think. Look, if we're going to be honest, there has been a few performances of late that have been underwhelming. I'm not going to pretend. I love Michael Carrick and I'd be quite happy for him to get the job, and I've said that all along, and tonight doesn't change that. But I don't think we were particularly great for chunks of the game against Palace or against West Ham, going back a little bit further. And it was a bit of a more dogged display against Everton, to be fair. And tonight we were poor. So I get that performances haven't been amazing, but I think when you look at this as a team that... Yes, we were, there and thereabouts in the top 6, but we'd also, I think we'd won back-to-back games or 3 games once during the entire season. We'd drawn a whole host of games we should have won. I think we'd only had, it was weird, I think we had like 2 losses in 10, but then 3 wins out of 12 or whatever. So it was very much a sort of glass half empty, half full, however you want to look at it. But it wasn't like we were playing anywhere near or getting as many points as we are now, as we have been under Carrick. So there's definitely been an improvement in that department. Also, there just seems to be a little bit more about the team in general than there was before Carrick arrived. And, you talk about new manager bounce. Darren Fletcher came in, drew at Burnley, and lost at home to Brighton. So it's not just like any old manager can come in and automatically everything's magic. Michael Carrick deserves credit for getting the results he's got. That isn't without, that doesn't mean I'm not going to go, okay, there are some worrying signs. However, I think now you've got a big break. You've got an opportunity. What is it, Villa at home, who aren't playing well on the 15th, is it? Yeah. So this is the time now. You said it a few weeks ago. You said you want to see what Carrick does when he loses. Not that you want to see him lose, because that's not what you said. But you want to see, can he get a reaction if he loses? Can he sort of respond? Now, if we were to lose at Villa, then you might go, that's worrying. That's troubling because you've lost at Newcastle, a game that's a tricky one, even though it's against 10 men you should have got a result from. Villa at home, who are poor at the minute, you lose that, then people might start asking questions about him as a permanent manager because that's just the nature of the beast. However, I think you bounce back and that'll settle nerves and people go, okay, we're still on for top 4. And if you get Champions League football, I think he gets the job. I do. I think that's what'll happen. And I don't think that after tonight that means we're not going to get Champions League football. We just need to see a reaction. Were there any positives tonight? Because Mackie was sort of listing the team earlier and he kind of went through it all and just sort of dismissed almost everyone apart from maybe, I think, the defenders. The centre-backs. I think he said Lenny Yoro and Maguire he felt did well, but he was unimpressed with the full-backs. Or certainly with Luke Shaw and Delo and Malacia. Midfield weren't at the races today, and our attackers never really got going. Was there anything?
I thought Lomans was good. He did everything that was asked of him. Maguire was excellent. I didn't think Yoro was particularly good. I thought he was okay. A couple of times looked a little bit lightweight, as he has done a few times recently. But also, not that I'm going to judge him too harshly for this because it's not his job. He missed the biggest chance for either team of the game. That header, 6 yard line, that I think would have probably made us go on and win that game. It would have put us 2-1 up. Obviously, they're down to 10 men at that point. He just got a score. You know, we had a couple of chances, didn't we? And Burmo had one that he put over. Yoro had that one that he put straight at the keeper. Nothing major, but neither team had any good chances. This is what we always say in these big games, you've got to be clinical, and Newcastle were just more clinical than we were. They basically, other than the goals, and even the penalty wasn't a chance, was it? It's just a foul that ended up in a penalty. What chances did they make? They didn't. And sometimes we do this thing where it's like, Newcastle deserved it. Well, did they deserve it? I guess they showed courage and energy when they were down to 10 men, so I'll give them credit for that. But it wasn't as though Newcastle were banging the door down for the whole game. They had a good bit of possession at the start of the second half, but made no chances with it, much like United didn't make many chances either. Again, the onus was on us because they had 10 men and we had 11. But I think that it was a pretty even game that, like I said, was horribly disrupted by just light foul after light foul after light foul. Going through the rest of the team, Casemiro was fine but not great. Mainu didn't get going at all. We weren't able to play out. I thought Newcastle did a very good job of holding a high line no matter what. Because you expect when a team's down to 10 men, much like Palace did, that they're just going to sit on the edge of their own box. For most of the game, they didn't do that. And annoyingly, they just had we were just building up with a really good spell of possession and good chances where I think it was Yoro had the header, Ugarte had that looping header that went over as well, and then Ramsdale goes down for 4 minutes, with no injury whatsoever. All the players go to the side of the pitch, have a drink, get some new instructions from the manager, and after that, United lost momentum for 5-10 minutes. So, little bits of gamesmanship from Newcastle. Again, if you're a Newcastle fan, all within the rules, why would you do any other? It helped them win the game, or certainly helped United struggle to win the game. But it's all just things that couldn't quite happen, couldn't quite go away. We could never get the momentum going. Bruno had a bad game, but again, got an assist and looked like the most dangerous player on the pitch. Should have got a second assist for the Euro cross. Like, he had a poor game. The front three didn't get going, but we didn't get the ball to him. This is what I mean. The only time we gave the ball to our front line, they were fighting one-on-one versus Lewis Hall on one side, Trippier on the other side, on the halfway line, because Newcastle played such a high line that unless you're skinning someone one-on-one, going down the line and squaring it, we didn't give our own players the opportunity to be successful because of the way Newcastle played and how we didn't really sort of react to that. So that would be my biggest worry, is when Newcastle had a game plan that was working, we didn't really have anything that could sort it. Now, the other point here is, when Newcastle are on it at St James's Park, no one can really handle them. All the top teams really struggle when they're playing like that at home. So there is an element of, like, you can't always outwork and outthink and out-tactic the opposition. Sometimes what they're doing is really hard to break down. And that was the case today. And yet we still had chances, I think, to win the game. We just missed them. Like, I think this whole thing of having to call Michael Carrick's entire career into question because he's dropped 3 points or 5 points out of a possible 26 or whatever it is. I can't remember, the 25, 28, what is it, whatever the numbers are. Like, is just unnecessary for me. And there's not always a time where you can just out-tactic the opposition and win the game because you really want to. Like, it's really hard to win there. We had the chances to win there. We missed them. They had the one chance to win. They basically had one good chance the whole second half and they took it. And that's how they won. So there's a lot to go into, obviously, but I think this is why Carrick can't be the full-time manager, is such a reductive way to look at a whole game where there was just madness from start to finish. And I think United were poor, Newcastle played well, the ref played into their hands unwillingly, I think, but he did, and United missed our chances and they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think that sums up a manager's career and rules him in or out of the full-time job. I'm not saying give it to him because of this, but I'm certainly saying you lose one game out of your first 8, and this is why I can't have it. I think that's preposterous.
No, I agree. I think it's far too early to start saying this is it for Carrick. I mean, look, there's a lot of games left. What is it? 7 games left now? 8 games left? Sorry. You've got a very good opportunity to get Champions League football.
9, I think.
9, sorry. Get Champions League football. We'll have that conversation in the season. If you don't, then I think you might struggle to get the United job permanently. I really do. Hands up for the Panther says tons of Carrick outs. Chats don't realise you're allowed to do something else like a hobby. Chronically online. Joe was right at the end of the live stream. Oasis Outdoors says just like Ollie. You mean winning a bunch of games? Let's not forget this team was dog shit for the last God knows how long. Everyone line up. Gotham 2012 says almost all teams easily play for our press. Multiple managers, same issue. Mr. United Merce says no coach with a brain played Malacia before heaven. Jaffarito says the question is, do we have the grit to push through? The Rambling Man says the ball was in play for 3.5 minutes of that final 8. Mate, I don't know how you got 5 minutes for fucking added time. I know, look, United were poor today, but that was a joke that there was 5 minutes of added time when, like you say, they had like a fucking 10-minute break while Aaron Ramsdale redid his hairdo. It was just ridiculous. Yeah. Manny says Mbumo should have been taken off before half-time. I don't know about before half-time, but I certainly wouldn't have minded him seeing being subbed a bit earlier. He just looked knackered to me. But again,
not to disagree with you there, but I think that yes, Mbumo was poor today. Cunha was poor. Sesko didn't get the ball, was poor. But when Ahmad came on, he also struggled to do any more than Mbumo did. Because, as I said before, it's not just about, Mbumo's not playing very well, let's bring someone on and they'll definitely be better. Newcastle are playing well here. Yeah. You've got to do something that's above and beyond. You've got to change what you're doing, not just bring someone on and hope they do better. Because, Mbumo didn't do anything. Ahmad didn't do anything. So we could have just had another 30 minutes of Ahmad not doing anything, for all we know. The big one other big issue that United have, as we said at the very start, is, and Andy Tate, who's marching around behind the camera, we'll hear from him later on, said the exact same thing. We don't have good options off the bench. So we're talking about why is Malacia playing? Well, it's because the other 2 fullbacks we got were either on a booking, look like they might get sent off, or injured. Why is Ugarte coming on? It's another loss when he's on. He was one of our best players when he came on.
Ugarte did well to come on.
And it's not his fault. He's the only other defensive midfielder in the whole club. There's literally no other person you could theoretically even possibly bring on. I guess you could bring on Tyler Fletcher, but that doesn't make sense when you've got a £50 million player there. And Ahmad, as we said before, is one of our better players. Came on, looked basically a carbon copy of Mbumo in terms of what he produced.
I said it. I would have liked to have seen him a bit earlier, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't do it. I think
he left it a bit late with that one.
Yeah,
to me, Mbumo looked spent. But I get you. I mean, Ugarte, I'll eat my words because I thought I was quite critical of Ugarte before he came on. I was like, oh, but he did really well. I thought Xerxes did okay, but the thing with Xerxes, he had that shot is. He looks good on the ball, Xerxes, and he is good on the ball, and we know that. Is he likely to get you a goal? Probably not. And that's not, it's not all on Joshua Xerxes. The game should have been won before we started relying on him. But I don't get the same sort of feeling and excitement when he's coming off the bench as I would when it's Sesko coming off the bench, for example. You just kind of think, do you know what I mean? And it didn't quite happen for him. And he had that, like I said, he had that shot, but I honestly think it kind of got a little bit messy with all the changes as well, because some of them were forced on him, obviously. You got injuries. You're already missing players as well, because you're already missing key players in Martinez and Dorgu. Then you obviously lose Luke Shaw, or you feel like you got to take him off, he's on a booking. You lose Mazraoui. You're bringing on Malacia, who's played no football for United in, 2 years? You're bringing on Delo, and I don't really like Delo as a sub, to be honest with you, a lot of the time. I think he's better if he starts, because it takes him a while to get going. Yeah. And we kind of saw that tonight where he had, I think Maka said, a couple of bozo moments. So it's not ideal situation, Michael Carrick. But that being said, I'm not going to make excuses. We still shouldn't be losing to 10-man Newcastle. I think, both things can be true. Irvan Riaz says, I don't know what it is, but we don't show ruthlessness. It was Ross Murphy as well as put in a super chat. Sorry, Ross, I think I missed it. Let me just find that for you, bro. We are still third. It's our first loss under Carrick. We've now got 2 weeks now to bounce back against Villa. This is a wake-up call for Carrick and the team. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think there was a couple more chats before I wrap up.
Just while you find those,
yeah,
the other thing I think with Carrick that is, I think, unfair is he basically has to have an end of the season or a spell, 20 games or so spell, 15, 16 games spell, that is better than any United manager in history in order to not be considered unworthy of the job or a failure as a interim. Because he started the first 9 games, including the last few, before, in his last spell, is the best start of any manager in Premier League history in the first 9 games.
Yeah.
So now you lose one game and all of a sudden, it's question marks. You lose to Villa, well, that's the end of him. Lose 3 in a row and it's game over. And yet, if he goes on and just, loses the next game and then win, draw, win, whatever to end the season, that will still be, I would guess, the best win rate of any United manager in history. Yeah. And it still might be not be enough for him. Like, it's a shame how much the Solskjaer appointment has sort of damaged Carrick's chances 5 years later of getting the Man United job. It's also a shame that because he started so well, as we said on the podcast the other day, if he ends a little bit poorly, he could still overall have the best win rate of any United manager in history, as I've said, and be considered a failure. It's incredible. The standard he set for himself is almost sort of stiflingly high. Whereas if you'd have started a couple wins, a couple draws, and then you win 3 or 4 in a row to end the season, people would be all over him. And yet it's like just waiting for things to go wrong now.
A few people, I completely agree. A few people have mentioned this about Scholes in the chat. I keep seeing Scholes' name pop up. Scholes on Instagram, and I think this is real. In fact, I can double check. But he's done a story where he says Michael has definitely got something special about him because United have been crap last 4 games, night, and then
do people not like Michael Carrick? Is this is like?
Let me just double check.
Do his teammates not like him or something?
Going on.
Have a look.
Yeah, it is. It's on Scholes' Insta.
Roy Keane can't stop having pops for no reason. Michael Carrick can't stop having pops for no reason.
Paul Scholes.
Paul Scholes can't stop having pops for no reason. Gary Neville seems to sort of not fancy him at all, no matter what either. And these are all players that played, I don't know, actually, Keane didn't play with him. The other 2 played hundreds of games with him. And at the first chance you possibly can to have a go at him, you're doing a little, it's a black screen with just that text on it, like some jilted lover is tweeting cryptic shit about their ex.
Sorry, Joe. There was a Tonali thing where he put a Tonali heart emoji as well in there, so I didn't miss that bit out. You were talking.
But what is that? Yeah. What is this childish, infantile, cryptic, backstabbing, shitty jokes at someone who's supposedly your friend, and secondly, the current Manchester United manager? What's going on? What is that?
The only thing I can think of with some of them is they're quite close to Ollie, and they might have a little bit of an issue where it's like they thought Ollie was going to get the job and they're kind of bitter that he didn't. Maybe there's an element of that, but it does seem a little bit weird because I don't mind criticising or questioning performances or something, because I think as a pundit you might go, we weren't great against West Ham, or we weren't great against Palace for a lot of that game, and we weren't great tonight. I've said that myself. But when it's a bit snarky,
there's certainly something special about Michael.
Yeah, a bit.
But Michael
snarky
as well,
And then when Keno brought up his wife, and I was thinking,
and Keane's saying he could win every single game between now and the season, he still shouldn't get the job.
Yeah,
these.
It
what
does
is it?
seem a
It's
bit
like playground bollocks. You're 50 years old.
And I also think
Paul Scholes is one of my favourite players of all time. The last thing I want to do is sit here having a go at him. I just think it's so childish.
Yeah, it is.
What are you doing?
I mean, I don't know. As to be honest with you, I don't really get it. I'm gonna see if there's any more. There's someone who keeps putting chats in, but there's nothing on him. There's a couple of people who've done that. Fuck Keane, get over it, lads, says Jaffarito. Someone had said about the thing. Benjamin Wheeler says, not sure Mainoo's the answer. He's drifted through the last 3 games, not doing much. What are your thoughts? I think Mainoo as well. He's not played all season, then all of a sudden he's playing every week. I think that catches up with you a little bit. I think look, I love Kobbie Mainoo. I think next season we need to buy more midfielders and we need to have more options. And I definitely don't have a problem with Kobbie Mainoo being a part of that next season. I want him to be a part of Manchester United for a long time to come. But I think it does look like it certainly caught with him tonight, because he that was probably his worst. Well, it wasn't probably. It was his worst game under Michael Carrick. Someone's in capitals. Kian Cope says, Jay, please talk about Cunha. Are we going to keep pretending about this guy? Cunha, we spoke about him earlier on the stream, so I don't want to keep labouring the point.
Yeah, he was poor.
Yeah, there we go. So we did do. Sorry, I think I've gone through all the chats there, but we're going to have to wrap it up. We've got away from Andy Tate, away from Stephen Housen as well. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe. Go and check out Joe and Sloppy Joe's podcast. That's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Motti. This has been a review. Manchester United suffering our first defeat as Michael Carrick as manager. Hopefully, it'll be our last one. Thanks for watching.